Thank you for tuning in to another TrickingBasics.com tutorial. Today we're going over the Masterscoot, and it looks something like this. Alright, so let's go over how that's done. A little bit of slow motion first. By the way, it's also much easier to learn this trick from a cartwheel or from a hook kick. Doing it from standing is a little bit more tricky, but I'll be demonstrating it as such. So it's like a scoot, but it feels more like a back handspring sideways, kind of. Let's go over it step by step. You want to start facing with your hips facing away from the direction of travel, and your foot at an angle. All right, so your hips are facing away from your direction of travel, and what you're going to do is you're going to lift up. It's going to feel like a back handspring. The more backwards you go, the easier the scoot's going to be. If you try to go to the side, it's going to make it more low, which is fine, but it makes it lower and faster, so it's a little more difficult to control. All right, so you're going to lift your arms up. Your hands are going to reach for the ground. Your legs going to lift. And you're going to hold that position while you jump into the air, just like a back handspring, and have your swing leg follow to the ground, landing you in a nice swing position. Alright, so let's look into some progressions. The first progression, I really only have one for you, and that is to learn the Masterscoot from a back handspring. I recommend using mats, just so you don't injure your hands. So you want to start out by doing a back handspring. Whether you're comfortable with back handsprings or not, I think it's a good idea to use mats, unlike myself here in this little progression bit of the tutorial. And then you want to do a back handspring off one foot. Then you want to play around with that, become comfortable with the one-handed back handspring, because essentially that's a Masterscoot. From here, do a one-handed back handspring off to an angle, just slightly. You don't want it too angled. At least not yet. And essentially that's a Masterscoot. And then get into like a lunge front stance kind of position, and so that you can swing your left leg, your hook leg, swing it through a little bit harder. And then play around with other things like hooks and cartwheels to help you get more momentum and make it more powerful. Okay, so let's go on to some problems that I see with the Masterscoot. The number one problem I see is starting with your hips forwards, like in a regular scoot. And you can do this, but a scoot is a much more, it's not as powerful of a trick per se. It doesn't require as much power to execute than a Masterscoot. So if you are doing it facing forwards, you need to pull your body all the way around. You see how I'm doing this here? I'm pulling my body all the way around, which is fine. You can do this, and this is a good Masterscoot, but it's lower and faster, so it takes more control. That's why I like teaching people how to do it from the back handspring. So like you just saw I did there, my hips are to the side, and now my hips are facing backwards, away from my direction of travel. So depending on the angle of your hips when you start will determine how low and fast your Masterscoot is. If you want to do a low and fast one and your hips are facing forwards, you need to pull all the way around. Whereas in a scoot, you see, I can kind of just barely touch my foot to the ground and I can swing through. But on a Masterscoot, I really need to pull my whole body all the way to where I land facing away from my direction of travel. Doing it from a back handspring kind of just sets it up a little bit more easily. Alright, and lastly, some angles for you. Unfortunately, these aren't the most pretty Masterscoots ever, but I hope it can teach you a little bit if those initial angles didn't help. But that's my Masterscoot tutorial. I hope you have enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.